The dynasty impact of Harbaugh to the Giants. Harbaugh, breaking news tonight, just about an hour ago, we went live on the main channel. Make sure you're subscribed to my main YouTube channel where we go live when news breaks. But we're here to discuss the dynasty aspect, the impact of this head coach hiring of Harbaugh in New York to coach up Jackson Dart, to coach up Malik Nabers, to coach up Scataboo. And who ends up being his OC? Do they bring Daboll back as OC? Daboll's weirdly involved in this situation a little bit. And it makes me feel like there's something to it. There's legs here. We've got super chats turned back on the channel. Gifted memberships turned back on. I don't know if someone can try and subscribe to the channel's gifted membership product. You get the green name and all the emojis and all that, but gifted memberships and getting memberships have been turned back on. We hadn't gone live for so long, they turned off. And so we just had about 7 to 14 days of hard work of just going live to get it back on. But it's back, baby. It's here to stay. In the Fantasy Football Show Graveyard Edition begins right now, broski. So file on into the Graveyard Show.
You're watching a Graveyard Stream. Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Dynasty Fantasy Football Show.
Thank you for being here, Roland. Appreciate your kind words. Congrats on the championship, and no worries, bro. Wow, what an exciting time to be alive right now. At least, or shall I say, exciting time to be up. Because everyone else sleeps, but not this channel. We go live when news breaks on the main channel. We kind of go live when news breaks on the Dynasty channel too, because we come back here to talk a lot about the impact of the big, huge breaking news. First super chat on the Dynasty channel since being turned back on. Best show around. Thank you for the $2 hauler, Romario. Let's give you a standing ovation. You are the first super chatter of the 2026 Dynasty run that we're doing here to create this channel, making this Dynasty channel as big as the main channel, we hope.
Let's go! Mashed potatoes!
Yeah, buddy.
So, appreciate you being here. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're new. And if you found me live and you just think you're watching the main channel, you're not. So please subscribe to this Dynasty channel as well. Let's see what Silver Rapture is saying. I imagine, DJ, Travis, all the usual phone callers and the night crew will probably dial in. So feel free to dial in now, guys. Travis, if you're out there, DJ, if you're out there, Rock Out, if you're out there, anybody that's a normal late night crew caller, feel free to dial in and discuss this right away. Scat signed through 28. Tracy signed through 26. Singletary free agent. Yeah, the other thing that we wanted to talk about probably in detailed fashion, which we did on the main channel, is this coaching carousel that we've got cooked up here. And let me just add Travis here to the call here. Thank you again for the super chat if you're watching, my guy. Who dropped the $20 hauler earlier. Appreciate you. We've got one team checked off with the green check mark on the coaching board, and that's Harbaugh to the New York Football Giants. And then on top of that, we've got some OCs on here, some DCs. Not everybody's going to get a head coaching job, so it's kind of – and even the Detroit Lions and Philadelphia Eagles need to be on here because they're looking for OCs, and those are important spots. So let me I'll probably fix this up tonight. Let me just move everything over. So these will be like the head coaching situations, and then we'll have over in the corner here maybe – we'll have the Detroit Lions and Philadelphia Eagles because those are such important landing spots for OCs and we are talking OCs here. So it's kind of like it makes sense to put them on here. Otherwise we're talking about OCs landing, and not discussing those spots. It doesn't make any sense. So let me put Philly on here, and I can maybe organize this later to make a little bit more sense and have like an offensive coordinator section. But Detroit Lions, where my Detroit Lions, they're there. There they are. So we have some potential, like Daboll, OC probably, Monken probably an OC, not a head coach. McDaniel, in betweener, depends on which team's going after him. He could be an offensive coordinator. I could see him being a head coach. I kind of am predicting, it's wild, but I'm predicting that McDaniel meets Harbaugh over in New York. But tough to say. I'm getting the vibe I'm sorry. No, I scratched that. I meant McDaniel going to Baltimore. That was what I was saying on the other show. I think McDaniel is potentially going to be the head coach in Baltimore. I meant to say swap crossover streams over to Baltimore. I'm sorry. I think I was trying to say Kubiak or Kingsbury over to New York. Or Daboll. Now, the reason I think Daboll was probably, or Monken could rejoin Harbaugh. Part of why Harbaugh was moved on from, said a lot of media outlets, was that Harbaugh didn't want to get rid of Monken. And that was one of the sticking points, I guess. It was kind of a weird sticking point. I doubt that was really a big thing. I bet you even the owner would say, like, that's not what you're talking. Somebody's spilling weird trash in your direction. But it was said. And so it makes sense that they're still on good terms and maybe Monken would follow him. But Daboll makes the most sense because Daboll was the one who got fired. And he's on the phone trying to convince Harbaugh to take the job. Why? Why would anybody do that? Have you ever been fired? First of all, I hope you haven't been fired. But if anybody's ever been fired or you left a job on bad terms, you quit. You know, you could have been fired or you just quit or you hated it there. Are you picking up the phone and saying, bro, you really need to go here. My former employer really needs you. So it makes me think that there's more to this story. And keep in mind that Daboll drafted Jackson Dart. He's probably sitting here in the bushes looking through the window at night at the New York Giants stadium, just peeking in. You know, it reminds me, it's probably creeping over there. He so misses Jackson Dart. And I'm not trying to rip on Daboll because this would be a great marriage. And I think Daboll would definitely be good for Dart. And Dart loves him. And this is a guy that handpicked him, hand-selected him. I could see Harbaugh and Daboll being like this. And if you think Joe Shine, Mr. Shinebox, isn't going to do whatever Harbaugh says, you got another thing coming because Harbaugh's now running the show. Monken, Daboll, McDaniel, Kubiak, Kingsbury, all possible, although McDaniel, Kingsbury have head coaching, I think, aspirations right now, so they're going to say no to OC jobs. That's why I don't think McDaniel would be the OC in New York because he could get potentially still a head coaching job. I'm sorry, I misspoke earlier. I believe McDaniel goes to Baltimore next, but we'll see on that. The reason I say that is because the owner of the Baltimore Ravens did a long press conference later yesterday and talked about how his next head coach is not necessarily an unknown guy and that his next head coach wouldn't necessarily be responsible or blamed for his past job, meaning that you can overlook it based on the things that they bring to the table. And that sounds either Kingsbury or McDaniel, or I don't even think it could be any. It could be Stefanski maybe, but I think Stefanski's probably. Yeah, I don't know. It could be Stefanski, but McDaniel or Kingsbury fit that bill very, very much because the way that he worded that was strange. But as for the Giants situation, let's go back to the Giants, this board right here, and speak about these players and the impact of this move. Look, the last time this guy took a job, iPhones weren't even around. He stayed in Baltimore that long. So to me, this gives a sense of stability to all three of these players. It makes me feel like Harbaugh is a serious enough individual that he's going to make sure Dart gets, the coaching he needs to become his absolute best. He's got experience with a scrambling quarterback. He's got experience with a running back that no defensive player in the National Football League wants to tackle in Derrick Henry, and that's the same thing for Scataboo, even though they're different players. You've got Malik Nabers, a player he's never had the privilege of having under his roof. So this could be the recipe, the tripod of glory that Harbaugh's always been seeking. And then you add in that it's really a quad pod because this team has the number 5 overall draft selection walking into the 2026 NFL draft. And so you've got this pick here who could be Tate, Carnell Tate, the wide receiver. I don't really want that from a dynasty perspective for Nabers, but it's still something that seems, like possible. They could draft another skill position player. They could grab the top tight end, Sadiq. I don't know if they would or not, especially that high. You never know, though. There's a lot of options, but this could be defense. It could be offense. Regardless, it is a potential tripod or quad pod in the making. And I think Harbaugh is beautiful for this situation. And the dynasty values skyrocket for all three of these guys. Travis, you're on the line. Dynasty-wise, how do you view Dart? What is Dart's ceiling value in fantasy with this move?
So I mean, I think he's still a top 10 guy. Like I don't know if I quite see him as a top 5 yet, but considering the weapons and Harbaugh there, I think you have to say like there's a world where he could creep into that. The other night when we were doing quarterbacks.
Let me merge. Hold on one second. Let me just merge DJ in real quick. DJ, hold on one second. Mute yourself. I'll be right with you in 1 second. Go ahead. Sorry, Travis.
Yeah, the other night when we were doing quarterbacks, for redraft, I had him at 9 anyways. I was kind of assuming they'd bring in a good coach and stuff.
Does this move him up?
One of the big things I wanted.
Does this move him up, though, if he was 9 without Harbaugh? I know you were saying you were assuming he'd have a good...
No, because I was assuming, I kind of thought Harbaugh might go there, and I figured if he doesn't, someone good will go there. So he's probably, I don't know, he's in that 8 or 9 for me. I just can't justify him right now over the, Allen, May, Lamar, Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts. I'd probably keep them ahead. That's 6, I think.
Yeah, it's easy to get excited about this and be like, he's a top, 7, but then you're like, well, let's count it out, and you're like, okay,
maybe I'd have him 8. I'd move him up 1 spot. I think
maybe he can dance in the 8 to 14. We could say that way. It's like you don't. It's not like you're going to expect him to be number 7 or 8 every year.
Yeah.
What about Scataboo, real quickly? Does this move increase his likelihood of staying healthy or being a long-term running back option in the league? You think it's unrelated because this guy's going to just bark off the tree and headbutt the goalpost over and over, and eventually his time will be up just because he hurts himself? What's going on in your mind with Skattebo?
I think in terms of that, I don't think it changes much because I don't think he can change how he plays.
He's a wild man.
I do think his ceiling probably gets raised a little bit because, I guess it depends on who they bring in as OC. But if they throw the ball to him more and they're able to mix Tracy in, that'll help take a little of the load off him, and he won't. Defenses aren't going to be able to just solely focus on him if Nabers is healthy. That's the other thing, is Nabers wasn't there most of the year. So,
what I like about Nabers?
Wandale was good, but he's not a true number 1.
The one thing I love about Harbaugh and Nabers is the one constant here where I think he's just literally top of he's the number 1 wide receiver to me in the league in terms of pure talent. I don't know that he'll stay healthy. I don't know if he'll. All those things are factors, But the thing I love about this is that one of the biggest things from a dynasty perspective, when situations are changing, look at the Falcons, for example. Look at the Falcons with Raheem Morris coming in, and now look at the Falcons with Raheem Morris going out. From a dynasty perspective, when there's volatility, there's uncertainty with London, with Bijan.
Right.
You've got uncertainty with Achane, with Miami Mike, and Miami Mike coming in, and then Miami Mike going out. With Harbaugh, you're most likely getting a 10-plus year coach. And so there's going to be continuity, stability. And Nabers is most likely going to get exactly what he needs to be in the best possible position to become the player we believe he can be. There's not a worry for me that there's going to be this turnover over in New York where his offense changes and then Nabers is doing this and Nabers is doing that. Look at JJ right now and how that feels. Even if Dart gets banged up and starts, they have to tweak, how he plays the game because he gets concussed again and he misses some time. There's still a long-term plan that has a long-term coach, that has long-term stability and long-term scheme. And sometimes that security is really, really important for a player like Nabers that hasn't yet developed into what his ceiling value could be. And so I think out of all the players here, this move, actually helps Nabers the most in Dynasty. I think Nabers becomes like a rock solid like Dynasty pick right now. I mean, I couldn't feel more excited about this.
Yeah, his value.
Yeah, the value of Nabers is just cemented.
Value.
All right, let me real quickly a final thought here, and then I'll go to DJ and then come back to you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the Giants, I mean, maybe it'll take a year, but I think they can contend for a playoff spot right away if they're healthy, because with that number 5 pick, they have so much flexibility. If say they sign Wandale, then they have 2 receivers. You could argue Theo Johnson is fine as their tight end. They have 2 running backs. They have a quarterback. They have 2 really good pass rushers on defense. So, they could go safety. They could go cornerback. They could go a lot. There's so many different things they can do with that pick. And they already have that foundation built in, like we talk about with LV, that we like. As long as they can stay healthy, they have such a good foundation. And adding Harbaugh to it just puts it over the top for the future if they can all stay healthy.
Yeah, from a team perspective, I like the idea of Carnell Tate. I just don't love that for Nabers necessarily. But Carnell Tate is no Malik Nabers, so I don't think it would be anything but like Addison to JJ when JJ was in his prime. I'm not saying JJ is in his prime anymore, but I mean when he was playing in his prime, which he eventually will again. But we didn't worry about Addison pulling down Nabers. But I'm sorry, JJ. But I do think that, from a football perspective, Tate's a fantastic pick. I just don't know that I want them to take him. I also think that, as much as I love Scataboo, and people are not going to like what I say right here, but I'm not passing on Jeremiah Love no matter what if I'm drafting in this range. And a Genty, of course, I'm not going to take him.
Yep.
But if I'm the Jets, if I'm the Cardinals, if I'm the Titans, if I'm the Giants, if I'm the Cleveland Browns, if I'm the Washington Commanders, if I'm the New Orleans Saints, if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, Bengals, I wouldn't, because I love Chase Brown. Although, I don't know, if I was running the team and not playing fantasy, part of me does wonder what I would do. I know everyone says defense, you could go defense the rest of the draft. But right here, I don't know what I would do, what I would personally do, because Jeremiah Love is him. So there's 2 teams here that I've identified, the Bengals and the Raiders, that don't need him because they have an elite player at the position. But just because Scataboo is amazing doesn't mean I wouldn't want to punch the hell out of this situation. Not to mention, if you said, Smitty, give me a championship within 2 years in New York, and I got to pull all the strings, and Harbaugh stayed in his job, but I got to pull all the strings and set it all up. I'm GM, and I get full autonomy here. I would bring in Miami Mike McDaniel as my OC. Obviously, I want Flores. Probably not going to get all that, but let's say I got Miami Mike McDaniel. So now he becomes New York Mike McDaniel, which is awesome. New York Mike McDaniel. And then I draft Jeremiah Love, who would become his Achane. You'd still have Skattebo to ground and pound, bro. And Jeremiah Love is still going to get plenty of work. And you literally have what you need, I think, to make this happen. But that's me. I really think Jeremiah Love is the guy. But I don't think they'll take him. I'm just saying I would, because I'm crazy.
I'll let you go to DJ, but also not this year, but next year they have I think they might have over $100 million in cap space. And I know some of that'll get eaten up, but their cap space situation isn't as bad as it looks when you look at this season. So it's just a really attractive spot to build a team.
Someone said in the chat, mark my words, Scataboo will be the number 1 running back in the league. He's not going to be the number 1 running back in the league, bro. But he could easily be a top 10 running back for as long as he stays healthy. But number 1 running back in the league, you're wearing goggles that are about this thick, bro. I don't even think you can see the stream. How many fingers am I holding up, bro? Your goggles are so thick, I don't even think you can see that I have 1 hand up. It looks like 3. DJ, you're live.
Best on the planet, Smitty. And I promise I won't go down in a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So real quick.
Go ahead.
That's it. The concern with Harbaugh in New York is offensive philosophy. So with no retreads, None of that, because look at Baltimore's wide receivers, even with Lamar, and all of the, offensive coordinators. So it's a run the ball type of philosophy, almost like the Chargers. So he's got to bring in an OC, man. That is going to be the key, I think, in my opinion, for Nabers, as well as, Dart, Skattebo. Skataboo's got to
Real quickly, one thing at a time.
Yeah, sure.
I do want to mention that Flowers had 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 86 receptions this year, and finishes the 7th best wide receiver in the league. And I'm not trying to push back on your comment. I'm just merely devil's advocate. And if they've never really had an elite player, like Nabers before, is that completely, are we just overlooking that they just haven't had that kind of weapon before? Not to mention that, that you just saw Flowers become what Flowers became as a really good season for him. I know he did a lot. He did a lot in the last week there, but I don't know. I think Nabers is a unique player that Lamar was part of the reason why you don't have a top 10 wide receiver ever created by the Baltimore Ravens under Lamar's command.
He runs so much.
Yeah, but you got it this year for the very first time. Lamar never, the line we used to use for years on this channel was Lamar never, ever created a top 25 wide receiver. And then last year he created a top 20. I think Flowers was like 20. And so we were like, oh, I guess you can't or 21. I think it's 21. So we couldn't use 21 anymore or 25 anymore. We had to use top 20. Like Lamar can never create a top 20.
Do you think that'll happen?
And then now it's 7.
If Lamar's healthy, though, do you think it goes back to that where, maybe it's a top 15 or 20 guy, but do you think if Lamar's running like he normally does when he's having all success, do you think it goes back to that with Zay Flowers, or do you think they are going to change the offense and have Lamar throwing more?
I think Flowers drops off a little bit, but I still think we're seeing the Ravens. The Ravens are almost certainly going after a high octane offensive coordinator / head coach like McDaniel. This is why I predict McDaniel to be the next head coach of the Baltimore Ravens, because I think that this owner wants this to be a different offensive-minded, crazy. Let's get these guys, scoring. Let's hang with these other teams, these pre-snap motion teams that are dominating the NFL with all this speed. And we've got weapons. We've got what we need, but we need some creativity. I think that's why McDaniel is going to be chosen as the head coach. But that's just me. I could be completely off on that. But I also do believe that that will be good for Flowers and everybody involved, because you're going to talk about the creativity that McDaniel can potentially, what kind of positions he can put Lamar and Flowers in. But I will say I don't know if you get 7. So this might be Flowers' best season he ever has, because 7's hard to beat. Like that's a high number. But anyway, I just wanted to go back to what DJ was saying and just say that I think that coordinator is truly important, and he's going to have his choice of whatever he wants, which is good. But I do believe that Nabers, it's hard to judge Nabers off of like Monken. Even if Monken gets brought in, and I think Daboll's the key. If he brings Daboll in, which everyone's going to say is ridiculous, but it's not. When you look at the actual details of this whole thing and how it played out and how much Daboll was involved in getting Harbaugh over to New York to head coach at his old position for his old employer. It smells like Daboll's going to be the OC. But even if he's not, and let's say he brought Monken in, and he brings him over, part of the reason why Harbaugh was moved on from was because they said, Schefter and Rappaport, whether it's true or not, that he didn't want to move off from Monken. So they just had a disagreement of how they wanted to move forward with the team. And they said, let's just depart, part ways. So if Monken comes in, I don't think I'm writing Nabers off, because we just saw Flowers explode. This is one of the best receivers in the entire National Football League. So I don't know. I kind of disagree a little bit there, but I get where you're going. And you're not wrong that OC is important, because you choose the wrong OC anywhere, your whole thing can fall apart. But who do you want to be the OC of the likely available OCs, DJ? What is your pick here?
that is a good question. If they are going to go that way, McDaniel just would make, sense. And, or someone along those lines. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know that he'd make a lateral move.
Either will
McDaniel, before a head coaching opportunity.
Either will McDaniel, though, is the problem. Until the head coaching opportunities are no longer it's evident that, let's say Kingsbury and McDaniel are like, okay, now the dominoes dropped. Hey, hi, Atlanta, you available to have a conversation? We're not interested. Hey, Raiders. Hey, Pittsburgh Steelers. Hey, Cardinals. Hey, and then all of a sudden it's like nobody wants Kingsbury or McDaniel as a head coach. Then I think Harbaugh picks up the phone but at that point, will Harbaugh have already selected his OC? So that's why I think that it's going to be tough for these two, McDaniel and Kingsbury, to land in New York, because they're going to, the order of everything's got to be perfect, and it's going to be tough. Of non-McDaniel Kingsbury names, who do you want as OC for the New York Football Giants? Hello?
Can you put sorry about that. Can you put the coaching list up?
It's up.
From the earlier.
It's up.
Oh, okay. Let me jump in. I'm multitasking here, gentlemen. Bear with me here. Okay.
Hello?
Let's see. Okay.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't even tell you.
Okay.
I just put it. And the reason being is these are like, and the reason why I say that is just because these are kind of like recycled, some experienced OCs.
Yeah.
Why am I echoing?
Okay. Well. Let me put it. Let me put it this way. Would you?
Yeah, because look at these names. This is a hell of a OC and DC list. I mean, so Daboll, I don't think he'd go. He could be the OC. You know what? That makes sense. What you were saying earlier, crossing that bridge.
I did get Daboll or Monken.
That would be ideal.
I think Daboll or Monken might be the choice.
Yeah.
I really think that, everyone thinking that.
Yeah, Daboll, Monken, or someone we don't know. We're not.
Yeah. It could be. It could be
right, or someone we don't know,
or someone we know. We're just like, oh yeah. But
I kind of
right.
I kind of hope it's not Monken. I just want to see something different.
I could see that.
Monken had success.
I could see that, but part of me thinks that, somebody explain it to me. Somebody called into the show and explained to me, if Daboll is not in contention here, why is he involved in this situation at all? He's just looking out for his boy Jackson Dart that he drafted, that he loves so much, like a son, and he wants him to be taken care of. And then once Harbaugh signs the contract, Monken, Daboll just goes like this: "My job's done." And like in Rudy, Rudy Rudiger, in the movie Rudy, when what's his face, sees him get the sack and he turns around and walks down the tunnel and his job's done. Like, he did it. He accomplished it. He's just moving on. Is that what Daboll's doing? He just wants Jackson Dart to get his new father, and then he knows he's okay. Now he can
slow clap.
Or is he trying to get back in the door? He's locked outside. He's in the bushes creeping, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I think Daboll would be great for this situation. But this is his son.
I think it would be awkward, though.
It would be awkward.
Harbaugh shouldn't do that. If I was Harbaugh, I would.
Hi, Joe Shine.
I guess if he's confident in himself.
I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
Right, and if they don't do that, I'm sorry. If they don't do that, I mean, I think it's going to be somebody that we like. Oh, okay, or like Travis said, somebody that we because that's a great point in terms of McDaniel in Baltimore. And I guess that's what I was saying. The same applies in New York. Let's not retread. Let's not do what we've done. If they're going to do it in Baltimore with Lamar, was that the problem? Did they not want to do that in Baltimore, to your point about Monken?
But is it retreading? Is it retreading, though? Because, Salah being the head coach of the Niners and Salah being the defensive coordinator for the Niners are like night and day. Daboll being the offensive coordinator in New York and being the head coach in New York are night and day different. I don't know that I don't feel like it's retreading. I feel like it's putting Dart back where he belongs. But now he has a better head coach, and he has the guy that knows the X's and O's and believed in him.
I'm not speaking to Daboll. I'm talking about Monken. Daboll, yeah, that's ideal. I'm speaking in terms of Monken because that system, if they weren't doing it in Baltimore with Lamar, what they want to bring in a McDaniel to do, why would you want to bring Monken to New York? And you didn't want to do that in Baltimore.
But you got to understand that Harbaugh didn't want to fire Monken, and so they decided to part ways with Harbaugh because partly they say who knows, because Schefter doesn't tell us. But part of the reason why there was a divorce was because Harbaugh was adamant about keeping Monken, and the Ravens didn't want to go that route, so it just kind of started creating. There was already a divide, and it was like. So
supposedly Lamar and Monken weren't getting along either.
Monken and Lamar, Harbaugh and Lamar, they're all butting heads, and there's a real feeling that Harbaugh is super loyal and loves Monken. So I mean, retread or not, you could say though, are you retreading or are you retooling with a different tool? Like, are you saying Harbaugh and Monken and Lamar are the problem, maybe? But you take Lamar out and insert this, and maybe the part that was working was Harbaugh and Monken. Hard to say.
Well, I mean, right. Yeah, go ahead, Travis. Please jump in.
No, and you're not wrong, DJ. No, I'm just counterpointing all this.
Oh no, I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
fair enough. Yeah, I'm not saying that. Go ahead, Travis.
I was just gonna say there's two ways to look at it. Like, maybe. Harbaugh and Monken couldn't get over the top of Lamar, but, Dart's a different guy. It's going to be slightly different there, obviously. With the Daboll, the only thing I would worry about with Daboll is how many of the guys in the locker room love Daboll, how many guys hate him, like, does it cause that type of issue? Now, if a guy like Harbaugh is truly a great coach, and if he brought in Daboll, he obviously is going to think of this and, make sure this isn't going to be an issue. But I like Daboll because it just continues, like Smitty said, it continues developing Jackson Dart on the path he was on. And he made a great point earlier when you said when Daboll left, that's really when Dart started to have some issues with, not getting down, not getting out of bounds. Like, you wonder if he had a consistent offensive coordinator and a coach like Harbaugh, they can teach him those.
Yeah, and also keep in mind, like, I don't think that you'd have a seniority problem at all, because I mean, imagine like everyone at some point in their life, one way or the other, and maybe both, you were working with someone side by side. You never thought of them as a boss type person, and they got promoted and you didn't, and all of a sudden, like, you view them different. You're like, oh, they do have kind of authority now. Like, the position itself is going to mandate that. There's no way, because Daboll was the head coach, they're going to see him being yes sir, subservient to Harbaugh, and they're not. No one's ever going to be like, oh, we're going to over. I don't think Harbaugh's too strong of a personality too, so I don't think it's a problem.
Daboll would have to step out of line.
Yeah, and not to mention, you guys got to understand, if this did happen, I'm not saying it is likely or unlikely. It's hard to know, but if it did happen, everybody's acting like these are two guys that have never met before. If this happens, they're close. Like, Harbaugh and Daboll have been on the phone talking about this, Daboll trying to convince him to come to New York, and like there's more of a relationship there than people realize. And so it's not like these two are going to shake hands and meet for the first time. I'm glad we set you up on this blind date. They're going to work together good. And Daboll, he'll have his responsibilities. He's not going to have any decisions to make that were the old head coaching decisions. So there's nothing to butt heads on. It's not like he's going to be like, I decided that we're practicing. Like, none of that's going to happen. Now,
and Harbaugh is the type of coach where he doesn't necessarily have his hands completely in the playbook all the time. He lets his coordinators do their job. So.
And Daboll focusing on the things that matter is good, I think, because there's parts of Daboll.
That's why he's a good head coach, man.
Like, people got to remember, Daboll just like Miami Mike shouldn't be a head coach either. And maybe he does better in Baltimore if he goes there. I do predict Miami Mike's in Baltimore. I do predict it right now. But anyway, if let's say Daboll helped create Josh Allen, for those that don't know. Like, he had a heavy hand in the development of Josh Allen. And he's always been talked about being a quarterback whisperer. And he hasn't really done it yet for a while. And then Jackson Dart happened. And then you started to say, okay, now he's got his groove back. He messed up with Danny Dimes. He didn't know what he was doing there. Danny Dimes ended up being pretty good, though, with Shane Steichen, who's also a quarterback whisperer who helped cultivate Jalen Hurts and went from that OC job over to head coach of the Indianapolis Colts and then screwed up with AR5. And then he revitalized Danny Dimes. So it's like Steichen and Daboll, as coordinators, helped bring up some of the best QBs in the league, and Hurts and Josh Allen. When they got head coaching jobs, they kind of screwed it all up. You know, they kind of weren't very good at doing everything that they were so good at doing when they were more focused on just the QB and the offense. So Daboll, to me, he's not a good head coach anyway, but he's a damn good offensive coordinator, offensive-minded guy that I think if his sole focus is the offense and Jackson Dart and doesn't have to worry about all the other decisions that a head coach has to make constantly, this is good. This would be really good. And I know people are going to say this is not going to happen. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm not saying that I have any insider information on this whatsoever. This is a total gut instinct thing. But I think that Daboll or Monken are in play for Harbaugh. We'll find out. Both of them could get shot down tomorrow. But that's my feeling. And the only other
I'll say this and we can move on. Yeah. Let me jump in so I can say this and we can move. Not to interrupt you there because I'm old and I can forget. It's on the tip of my tongue. See, my thing is just offensive philosophy. So I have no problem with Daboll being with Harbaugh. I mean, that makes sense, the continuity. So that's not a retread, in my opinion. I'm just speaking in terms of offensive philosophy. I mean, let's open it up. If Harbaugh and Monken weren't doing it in Baltimore, you know, but they're bringing in someone like a McDaniel to do it with Harbaugh, why would you want to bring in Monken? Then all of a sudden we're gonna, open it up.
You mean why would I consider Monken as the OC in New York with Harbaugh a good option at all?
With the philosophy,
yeah,
that's exactly right. Because that's the retread, in my opinion.
And I understand
because again, that's why they got rid of him, saying, "Wait a minute, so let's bring in somebody that's going to open Jackson up." But then they're going to go to New York and say, "Okay, Harbaugh's going to say Monken, okay, we're going to open up Dart." And the question is, well, why didn't you do that in Baltimore?
But they did. They did, though.
That's all I'm saying.
They did, though.
Look,
2025 was rough. Yeah. But, bro, 2024, Lamar Jackson went nuclear and was the number one fantasy football quarterback on some levels and threw for – how many touchdowns did he throw for in 2024?
A boatload.
I mean, he was –
a boatload.
Right, but I just –
a boatload.
I mean,
41.
To suggest that Lamar wasn't unlocked by Monken, I think, is selling Monken short extremely.
Yeah. Well, I'll move on. Fair enough, and I get your point. But no, with Nabers, I mean, he's going to have it. He has the floor no matter who's throwing to him, right? If he's healthy. So, I'm just talking about like to the moon, to the stars. I think Zay Flowers numbers. I think Nabers would just, destroy that or add to it just naturally, just waking up, personally. So I don't think that would be a problem there. But yeah, we'll see, man. Daboll wouldn't be bad. I just wouldn't go with Monken there.
Well,
and you know what? And it could again be somebody that we don't know about. So I'd be curious.
Real quick, Travis, hold on. Monken again.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I hear, but I almost would say that if you're feeling like Harbaugh and Monken would be a problem, there's a chance that Harbaugh is a problem. Because who's to say it wasn't Harbaugh causing that, that inability to get over that hump. But I do believe that Harbaugh and Monken together proved that they could absolutely get the most out of their quarterback. I think that 2025 is a different story, but 2024 Lamar was insane. I mean, this guy became one of the best passers in the league. Yardage wise,
That was bananas.
didn't need to run as much. Threw for 40 plus touchdowns, which is you can't throw for 40 plus touchdowns unless you're unlocked. So I just think Monken's actually a lot better than people think. And I think Daboll. I'm getting more and more convinced that it's the right move to go Daboll or Monken versus any other option, unless it's McDaniel, which I wouldn't mind. Kingsbury will be interesting too, but again, these guys are vying for head coaching jobs, so they're not picking up the phone for OC jobs yet. They will, but they aren't right now because the game just started. They're not going to be like, hey, this is like Kramer when he spills the coffee on himself, and they say let's offer him free coffee for life and $100,000, to settle on him spilling coffee on himself. And then he walks in the room and they go, we'll give you free coffee for life. And he goes, I'll take it. And he doesn't even hear the 100K. This is like what are McDaniel and Kingsbury going to do? Like as soon as the game starts, all these jobs are open. Somebody calls them and goes, I'll give you the OC job. I'll take it. And then somebody's knocking on the door about a head coaching job. And some might say, oh, he's better off as an OC. No coach thinks like that. Every single one of these guys would take a head coaching job in a second. Like Salah, people are like, maybe he's better as a defensive coordinator. He doesn't care what you think. You might think Salah is better as a defensive coordinator, and you're probably right. But he could give two craps what you think. He wants to be a head coach again as fast as he can. That's the way it works. But I truly believe
wonderful life.
McDaniel and Kingsbury are very good options. Just I don't know, and I could be wrong that maybe they already know that all these teams are out. We don't know what conversations they've had. Maybe every single one of these teams is out, and you have the Eagles and the Lions. And you could also say that you could say this though. This would be the one like caveat to the McDaniel Kingsbury making an early call that could be a mistake in their mind later. Is if you're offered the Eagles or Lions OC job and you think that there's only a 10-20% chance you're going to win one of these interviews, but you're getting offered the Eagles or Lions OC job now or the Ravens, you might pull the trigger. So I think that's the one thing where you could see that happening. The only thing is, though, you're not getting this offer as an OC until the head coach is in position, and then you'd see the OC decision. But if Philly picked up the phone right now, called McDaniel and said, you're our new OC, you're going to get a head coaching job in 1 year. And he's going to say, I'll take that bet versus getting an interview here, maybe landing with the Cardinals where you don't even have weapons and you get fired anyway. Like, why not go do something great with the Eagles or Lions for 1 or 2 years and get guaranteed your choice of head coaching jobs? So it is a long game and a short game at the same time. And so that alone could make McDaniel make that decision. Now, in terms of that's McDaniel because he got fired. Kingsbury stepped away mutually, which could have been a firing, but he mutually stepped away, and you wonder if he's more so willing to say, like, I could have maybe stayed with JD5 unless it was a firing that he convinced him, hey, let me just walk away. But if it was a mutual walk away, he would have just stayed with JD5 versus going somewhere, that he isn't going to wait it out and try his best to get in the right spot as a head coach. I don't think he's going to just go from JD5 to an OC in Philly or Detroit, but you never know. But I think McDaniel could. Wow, this will be interesting.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Whoever Kingsbury's agent is, I'd like to have him. I mean, that crib when he was drafting, and in terms of him leaving Washington, look at these positions that are open. Look how many positions are open. So I think you might be right, man, in terms of, Kingsbury saying, wait, let me slide left here because at bare minimum, he's going to have an OC job. That's a great point.
I mean, Travis, wouldn't, if you were approaching your Mike McDaniel and you're like, okay, I could get, like, all these teams are waiting for Harbaugh. Now the dominoes dropped. So now everybody's racing out to go do interviews. If you're Miami Mike and there's a chance you could get one of these head coaching jobs in Atlanta or Baltimore, but they're going through all the interviews, there's going to be 3-4 for each. Are you taking the Philly OC job or the Detroit OC job or are you taking the gamble that you're getting one of these two or three. I guess you could say Pittsburgh too. I mean, there's 4 great spots, but there are a lot of names. I don't know.
If he's completely in the dark, well, I think if I was him, I'd take, unless I know I'm able to get one of these jobs and I have control over what I want to control, I'd take the Lions OC job right away, because he's going to look like a genius there. And he's a great offensive coordinator, but it's only going to raise his stock, in my opinion. Other than that, the Eagles, I don't know. I think it's a good job, but it's also kind of a messy spot with Sirianni there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's gonna be.
That's the only hesitation.
Imagine.
Like Sirianni seems like a whack.
Imagine McDaniel. Imagine Detroit Mike McDaniel.
Him and Sirianni together are like odd.
Detroit Mike McDaniel belligerently just scrolling onto the field. He's like, "Hey, Devon Achane, come here. My name's Gibbs, sir. My name's Jahmyr Gibbs. Same thing, same speed. Get out there. Go run a wheel route. Go run a wheel route, running back. Whatever your name is. Same thing. You guys are both the same speed. How fast you running? 23 miles per hour. It's all the same. It's good. All the play calls will just be like Achane right. But I want McDaniel paired with our dream come true. We're gonna come in here and do like I'd say at least a 1 to 2 minute standing ovation. There's nonstop applause if Mike McDaniel gets paired up with Bijan or Gibbs or Genty. Those are the 3 running backs that we're probably most wanting, that offensive minded. Let's feed the running back 80 to 90 receptions a year. I mean, whoever gets McDaniel is number 1, 2, or 3 at the running back position, if they aren't already. But like Bijan, we're a little worried about what happens there. I think the Raiders will be fine. I think they'll use Genty no matter who's there. They'll just pound the rock. I think that Bijan is probably, Detroit's gonna be probably fine, because you got an overpowering Campbell anyway that could press a button and override anything.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Atlanta's the one.
McDaniel could take them over the top.
Atlanta's the one place where I am concerned about the OC not being, just because the quarterback turmoil alone puts the offense in a vulnerable position. So if you crash and burn with this OC pick, the whole offense is tanked in bad field position, and then you can't run Bijan as much as you want. It's inefficient. You got to keep in mind when what's his face Arthur Smith was coaching this Falcons team. Bijan was, I think, number 28 or 27. I forget what the number was in the league, and runs over 20 plus yards out of the starting running backs in the National Football League. He was one of the worst in the National Football League in yards, or runs over 20 yards. Never broke off long runs. And people have said that, like, he just doesn't break off long runs. He does. He just didn't have the right coaching. Now look at Bijan. I mean, he's the guy you expect most to be running down the field for 40, 50, 60 yards. So this is a very, very critical place for an OC, more so than I think any of the other spots for that, because there's so many weapons there that are affected. And if you screw up at the quarterback position, you don't prepare right. And I'm very fearful. And as much as I loved Penix Jr., and I admit I'm not sure what I think of him now because he's injured. But this is the one place where I feel like they're almost put in a box too. Like, what do you do if you're the Falcons? The likely move that you fear is that they don't do anything, and they just say, well, Penix will get healthy, Cousins is okay, and we'll be all right. We'll just run it back. Like, that's concerning. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what you can do. There's obviously, Willis and some other creative plays you can make, but you're kind of in a box. It's not the best spot unless you get the right OC.
They really are. Is Cousins' contract movable now? Is that what we figured out?
So
Yes and no. They were going to
So what-
potentially trade him, remember, walking into the season, and they decided not to. But it's not. Yeah.
So here's what they did. Because I'm here in Atlanta and I'm listening to the sports talk all day. So they restructured his contract. So he's going to actually be able to find a team so they could cut him, right? But if
Yeah, 35
like
million
Stefanski, which he has a relationship with, they could bring him back. So in other words, he could re-sign. Them doing this, and part of the reason maybe why Harbaugh didn't even, maybe was like, nah, because Atlanta's kind of, their hands are tied with their salary cap. So they restructured, so it did free up $35 million. So they're going to cut him, or he's going to be a free agent. So Stefanski has a relationship with him from Minnesota. So that's his contract situation. So he's going to shop his wares, you see. But what about Kubiak? I think that Kubiak might be Atlanta's pick. Reason being,
That's my favorite.
What do you have? Charbonnet and Walker, right? Philosophy, system, Darnold.
Yeah. Altier's gone though.
Well, that's fine. You got Bijan. You understand. But I'm just thinking in terms of that scheme, that system.
Yeah, Kubiak's he's the safest. Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. He's the safest play for Atlanta because you have the same kind of blueprint that Seattle has, and you're somebody that can manage the run and the pass and not neglect one of London or Bijan in a way that we're upset that coach landed there. I mean, damn, they ignore this, or they're all run or they're all pass. Kubiak is he's like the Bijan of the coaches in terms of he does everything well. I think Kubes would be perfect for Atlanta. We've wanted that for a couple of weeks now as the potential best spot, and LV, because LV and Atlanta are very similar in that you have a quarterback, okay,
right, and
you have he's not the best quarterback in the league. I think Mendoza could be really, really good, but Penix Jr., Cousins, Mendoza, whatever. You've got Genty, Bijan, you got Bowers, London. That gets very, very similar, and it's very similar to Seattle. So it is the perfect landing spot. Real quickly, I'll let you continue, but Kirk Cousins is restructured, to my knowledge, as we go back to that real quick, puts him in a better position to be traded than cut, if I remember correctly. But I still
$35 million dead cap.
Yeah, I don't know that they're. I think at this point, cutting him or trading him is not you're not going to benefit from cutting him more than you are trading him. I think they're going to try and trade him. The thinking is in Atlanta is if they can't trade him, if nobody wants him, because his contract still is not the best contract in the world. If they want to move on from him, the contract is already set up that it'd be if they trade him, they're just not getting the compensation. So the restructure was to make it easier to move on from him, not necessarily trade or cut. They're of course going to try and trade him if they were to go that route. But with Penix Jr.'s situation right now, they may say we're just going to keep Cousins as the starter, and that protects us because who are we going to find to come in and play that so it's hard to see. That's why I say the Cousins and Penix Jr. situation, it almost boxes the Falcons in to where they can't go do another move because they're so pot committed to that contract that they have restructured. But it's it's a mess there. It's not the easiest situation to solve. But Kubiak would be the best for it because you saw him do what with Darnold? Make Darnold look like a pretty good quarterback. But he's not. So, I don't know. I like Penix Jr. still. I really do. Sorry, go ahead, Travis, then back to DJ.
No, I was just going to say Cousins is basically on a one-year deal because 2027 he has a base salary of $67 million and a dead cap of 12.5. So no one's paying that, unless someone restructures or resigns.
Yeah,
he's sitting on a one-year deal essentially, right?
But the deal was done with the intention of if we're parting ways with them regardless of how, You know, like this, like let's say they keep him, for example, and then mid-season someone has a quarterback go down. They could do what they were going to maybe do last year with that. But
Right.
Go ahead, DJ.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. It's just, I think that Kubiak, and I appreciate you correcting me on that. That was my understanding. So good stuff.
No, you're right. It's just I'm just saying he could get traded. They did it so that they can. It's almost like a preemptive move so that they can move on from him however they want to, but they may not want to.
Yeah,
they may want to. But I agree with you. Kubes is the best. Kubes is the best option overall for the Falcons, I think. Given the complexities of their quarterback situation and what he can do with Darnold and all that, and what he proved he can do with Darnold, I think he's the right man for the job. That if you called him up and said, hey, explain to us how would you do what you did with Darnold with our quarterback room, he'd be like, this is exactly how I'm going to do it. And you'd be like, man, I believe this guy because he turned Darnold into a prince.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be telling because he's in the playoffs. If they win, they move on. If the Falcons, and for that matter, maybe even Raiders, because I think they're very similar to your point, if they haven't pulled the trigger, yeah, they're waiting on probably the Kubiak. What do you think, Travis?
Which team? Sorry, I was answering something in the chat.
Like if the Raiders. Like the Raiders, if they don't pull the trigger, between that, let's say Seattle wins, right? They move on, and the Raiders or the Falcons have pulled the trigger because, again, those are appealing spots, right? Amongst the top. They're waiting on the Kubiak.
Yeah,
makes sense.
It kind of seems that way, and I think that could be the only other roadblock in terms of the dominoes falling with coaches is waiting to see how the playoffs play out. Yeah, I mean, like we said, Kubiak makes a lot of sense for the Raiders and the Falcons. I think the Raiders could go a few different ways though, and be okay. I just want stability in there. Like personally, like Mike McDaniel would be great for the offense. I don't know if it would be the best to have him as a head coach if you're trying to build something.
Like we said before, and this package goes for a lot of teams, but I think, as Travis said, the Raiders are flexible a little bit more than the Falcons. I think the Falcons need something special with quarterbacks. Flores and McDaniel or Flores and Daboll would be ideal for the Raiders. And I am fine making Flores my head coach if I've got Daboll or McDaniel as my OC. I'm 100% okay.
The only drawback is losing an OC to be a head coach, but I mean that kind of comes with the territory of the NFL these days, I guess.
Yeah, the problem is if you put McDaniel as your head coach, will you win? And will you fire him?
Right. That's the problem. I'd rather have that stability.
Yeah, I just don't know. Put him in Baltimore. We'll see what McDaniel does. But I think that, I don't think you want McDaniel in charge of Mendoza. And that, I mean, you bring in the right OC, but like, who's your OC? Like, if you bring in McDaniel and Flores as your DC, like, how are you going to do that? How are you going to have McDaniel as a head coach and then bring in what? Just a placeholder offensive coordinator, and then Flores is the DC? I guess you could do that, but I don't like that. I like McDaniel as the OC. Maybe he'll find it hard pressed to get a job right out of the gate the first year. Honestly, I don't know why the NFL doesn't make contracts with coaches the same as the players. I have no idea why.
I hate it.
It doesn't help the NFL. It only hurts the NFL because these players have no continuity and then they fall off and they get injured. The league would be so far better off if, let's say, you had to stay at least make a rule you have to stay somewhere at least 2 years before you can get a equal or upgrade role, like some sort of rule. Like you could go down, sure, but like let's say you couldn't go into a lateral position or higher you had to stay with your current team for 2 years. It just, unless you're on a 1-year deal or whatever, but like they should allow you to sign coaches and OCs to a 2-year deal and make it to where you have to stay. It doesn't help the league at all. it puts everybody in a bad position, and players get hurt, players drop off, the excitement wanes, the teams will have success then wane. It's really a stupid setup. All right, DJ.
I don't know if the yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Say final thoughts. I'm going to wrap it up, boys. So DJ, final words. Then
Sure.
over to Travis. Then I'm out of here.
Yeah. Perfect. Real quick. Just in terms of Kubiak and these positions and when the dominoes would fall after Harbaugh, it's going to be interesting. I'm really curious to see what Pittsburgh does. But going back to the original topic with the Giants, and I'll say this and hang up, Scattebo, barring his health, is definitely going to benefit, naturally. Even if they were to bring in a back, which they probably will do, they do have Tracy there. Scataboo is good. He catches the ball, and his targets were getting up there. I don't think that would take away from Nabers. I think they may draft a wide receiver. It kind of makes sense to complete that offense. Best show on the planet, man.
All right, thanks, DJ.
Appreciate it.
Later, bro.
Yeah.
All right, Travis, final thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to say before when we were talking about Harbaugh and Monken, I think a lot of people forget that Monken only came to the Ravens as the OC in 2023. And there was a direct correlation with Lamar taking that next step with him joining as the OC.
Yeah, Monken's great. That's why I was kind of pushing back on the Monken stuff, because he's like, Monken's been fantastic since he's been there. It just last year it didn't work, and that's why Harbaugh was a hardline stance on Harbaugh to say
he was hurt.
Yeah,
Lamar was banged up.
I know.
Throw it out the window.
But that's why it was ridiculous that ownership's like, you either get rid of Monken or you're gone. It made no sense to me.
My bigger fear, and I don't think it'll happen, but is that Harbaugh brings Greg Roman back, which I don't think he will since he moved on to Monken. But I think Greg Roman wouldn't be good for a Scataboo or a Dart. I think he'd get them killed. And one thing I just pulled it up because I always save it. In the 4 years that Greg Roman was the OC of the Ravens, Lamar Jackson was not allowed to call audibles and not allowed to slide pass protection. And the second Monken got there, he gave Lamar that power, and you saw all the difference in the world. And that's just crazy for a OC to put the reins on a quarterback like that. It's fine in the beginning, when you're installing something, but you got to let your quarterback work at the line, or you're never going to get the most out of him. And that's Greg Roman, though. He likes to run the ball and keep things, tight. I'm not a big Greg Roman fan.
No, I don't like him at all.
And he's out there now. He'll probably land with somebody, which is concerning.
Yeah. All right, Travis, anything else?
No, I think that's it. Kingsbury, was it the Raiders a couple years ago that he was like going to go to and then backed out when he went to Washington? Was that what happened?
Yeah, what team was?
I was wondering if
was that the Raiders? Let me ask Kruger.
I think so. I was wondering if that would affect.
Yes, you're right.
The Raiders not consider him now.
I didn't even think of that until now. Let's ask Kruger. What team was it that Cliff Kingsbury was going to coach and he backed out and then went to the Washington Commanders? What job was that? What team was it?
So, before Cliff Kingsbury joined the Washington Commanders, he was actually lined up to coach the Arizona Cardinals.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's incompetent, man. He's just absolutely incompetent. He's gotten worse. Kruger was pretty money like in the beginning, but now, man, this I'm not worried about AI taking my job at all. He's incompetent. Guy was the head coach for the Cardinals. What are you talking about, bro? I think it was.
It's an odd.
Does anybody remember?
I think it was the Raiders. But yeah, let us know, Chad, if you know for sure.
Let me type it in. What team?
But at the same time, he's friends with Brady, and I think he was even like on the Patriots roster at one point.
It was the Raiders.
Brady
Kings-
for a short time.
Kingsbury
It was.
backed
I
out.
thought it was.
Kingsbury backed out of an agreement to become the offensive coordinator for the Las Vegas Raiders in February 2024. So yeah, that definitely could sting. You know,
But
maybe
he's close with Brady too, so it's like you have one on plus and a negative on each side.
yeah, but that's like, you know, when you don't give 2 weeks, like you do that, you're not welcome back.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yep.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I just found the thing per Adam Schefter. February 1st, 2024, Raiders are hiring Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator.
Don't do it. Give him 2 weeks. He didn't give 2 weeks. He didn't even give 24 hours.
No, he went out the back door.
Yeah, that might. You know, we keep saying Raiders there. You're right. I think people are very stubborn in the business. There's no way they're gonna forgive that because what if they commit and then he backs out? They probably put something in the contract.
Yeah. I think if they don't get a guy like Mike McDaniel, I could see the Titans offering him the job, and it's like that. You know, that's a tough one because while like, you know, the Titans have a young quarterback, and I like Ward, but I understand, you know, he's not a true number one overall pick in most years. It's a dangerous spot for Kingsbury to go because, you know, you screw up your second time around. A lot of guys, it takes them to their second time to really hit it out of the park as a head coach. But
Well, that's what the Ravens.
again as a head coach,
That's why the Ravens
you could be in
comment.
trouble.
Yeah, that's why the Ravens comment makes sense for McDaniel and Kingsbury both because Ravens owner yesterday speaking about it was like the coaches were considering, you know, can't be judged on you judge them on what they bring like to the table, not necessarily how it went last
Right.
year. It's like whoa. So who is that, McDaniel or Kingsbury? So we'll see.
Yeah,
I got OC jobs in the right corner now. So Philly and
Chargers too now, right?
yeah. So and the Giants. So
Oh, right.
so you know, now I gotta rework this a little bit. It's gonna be hard to keep track. I mean, I could do an OC board, but I think I'm just gonna.
You could just say though, those two, Philly and Detroit are like unique. Those are uniquely good jobs too. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
technically speaking, all these head coaching jobs need offensive coordinators. You know.
yeah, that's kind of why I don't know if maybe I just leave it the way it is. Unique OC jobs, but they're just important fantasy football OC jobs. They're just super
Right.
vital. And
Yeah, the Eagles, that's
really the
a good
best.
conversation for another night. We've talked about them a bunch, but like, you know, if AJB goes, what does that offense look like? Goddard too. Both of them could be gone. That offense could be completely different next year.
Yeah, Hurts is definitely not the same value, even if it goes down only slightly or whatever. He's not the same value without AJB there. I mean, he didn't necessarily use him all year, so you could, in a way, be like, you know, yeah, that's not true, Smitty, but
Like he didn't, but he did. You know, it was such a weird season for them.
yeah, let me. All right, Travis, anything else?
Nope. Good show. Thanks, man.
All right.
Talk to you later.
I appreciate you calling in later, bro. All right. Well, we got the boards under control. Let me just put this in the corner here. Got the OC jobs. And then 1 second. Yeah, it's hard to do this board because there's so many things that are gonna potentially change. Like if I put all OC jobs here, like, and I have to put like the Giants logo in here, then all of a sudden it's hard to read. I think it's just unique, like Travis said, unique OC jobs, important OC jobs maybe is the right word. So looks good though. Lots to talk about. Thank you all for being here. This is the Dynasty channel. Please subscribe. Please consider becoming an exclusive member on the channel. Get the green name. get the emojis, the more of a priority commenting system that I sort through on the members, the exclusive members. And yeah, so the gifted memberships and super chats are back on the Dynasty channel. Thank you for waiting and weathering through that. I'm sorry if anybody has to now resubscribe on the YouTube gifted memberships, but you should have got probably an email or something from them saying that your gifted membership has been restarted or can be restarted from being turned off for like, I think it was like 12 days because I hadn't streamed for so long during the season. I had to do so much, and even though I was doing a lot this past month and a half, it kind of caught up to us that I hadn't done much streaming at all this year. We're gonna not do the Dynasty channel anymore, but the Dynasty channel is back, baby. It is back. Don't you worry. It is here to stay. It is here to motherfreaking stay. Appreciate every single one of you. I'll be live tomorrow on the main channel, per usual. I go live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, every single Monday through Friday. Live whenever big news breaks, like we were tonight on the main channel and tonight on the Dynasty channel. And we're live at midnight Eastern almost every single night on the main channel. And, of course, we're live at midnight tonight on the Dynasty channel. So you guys have two places to find me. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching this and you don't realize you're on the Dynasty channel right now. Please subscribe. See you all tomorrow. Appreciate you. Thank you, moderators. Thank you to my super chat that I got. It was Romario. Mario, thank you, pal. Appreciate you. Thanks, moderators. Thanks, Travis. Thank you, DJ. Thank you, everybody that called in. Deuce.